I'd like to introduce you all to Lady and have a good deep look at what was happening in her face. Now this mare had a laundry list of things that were going on for her, and not all of that damage or remodeling or injury was localized to her skull or her jaw. But we will just focus on that for today, because to look at more of it is to go into an incredible amount of depth. But I mean, as you can see here in front of you is her lower jaw in two pieces. Now this is how it was when I removed her from her manure processing. However, in dissection, her jaw sat like this. Now, as you should be able to see there is definitely a visible lump underneath the jaw, and yes, that you could palpate that externally. You could definitely feel it. She wasn't very fond of you feeling it, playing with it, touching it, but it was stable insofar as I didn't have this amount of play when there was soft tissue that was joining it together. But if you have a look at the remodeling, let me have a look. You can have a look at the remodeling. You can see here how it almost looks a bit like coral. And this is where her body had tried to fuse those two halves of the lower jaw together in a highly movable area. So I would say that the fusion of the two halves of this lower jaw was questionable at best. But you can see she gave it a good old crack because there is quite a lot of remodeling through there. So looking at different angles of that lower jaw, you're looking down from the top and looking up from the bottom, down this way. So on the right side of her jaw here, you can see it is unaffected in terms of the break. You can see here the hole of the foramen where the nerves come out to innervate through the lower lips. However, on the left side, that was entirely affected. Now, I did not look in depth at this, that I can remember. Her dissection was quite a few years ago now, but I will have to look back over the data to see what the nerves were actually doing in this area, because, if we take this foramen for our marker where the one is on the other side, then that's completely blown out of the water there, and it does really beg the question what was happening with the nerves through this area. Now, when she was alive, she did have full use and full ability to mobilize those lower lips. She was also a chronic wind sucker, as you can see from the wear on her teeth. And I mean chronic. She would stop eating to go and wind suck. It was astonishing to watch this mare with her wind sucking. Looking at the teeth, now I am not a dentist. Dentistry is not my specialty, but this horse did see a dentist regularly, a vet dentist, and for all intents and purposes, considering the injury to the left side of her jaw, she actually had, relatively good teeth. You can see, yes, these premolars do have more available to them, I suppose. There's less wear through these premolars through here than there are through the molars on the left and right side. But then by no means the worst teeth that I have ever seen in a skeleton or in a dissection horse. So, her teeth could have been worse. Now, while she was dealing with that, before I move on, what I would like to show you is that, so this is the internal surface of the jaw. So where externally it does look like potentially there had been wiring or some kind of veterinary intervention with the jaw, there is nothing on the internal surface that suggests that. So on the outside here we have more holes, more of that coral looking stuff, which I believe is just remodeling. Now, on the internal surface, we do not have any evidence of any holes in the bone, anywhere where wire might have gone through there. Whether or not the jaw was wired, we do not have that information. Whether this received any veterinary care, unfortunately, we don't have any information to that. At the end of the day, this is what this mare was dealing with. Whether the vet had stepped in and helped her, given her anything for it, that's what she had to deal with. And that's what was going on in the lower jaw. Now, to move on or move along from that in conjunction with that break in the jaw, I want to just have a quick look at the hyoid. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into how the hyoid connects and attaches and all of that sort of stuff. I've actually just interrupted filming for today to make this little short video. I'm actually filming a new educational video about the tongue and the hyoid and all that sort of stuff. So we'll go into depth with that sort of stuff in that video. But here what I want to demonstrate to you is the damage to the hyoid of this horse that corresponds with left side facial damage. So here we have the right stylohyoid, which looks, I mean, it's not the straightest, not the most correct stylohyoid I have ever seen, but for all intents and purposes, it is in one piece. It is, you know, relative to the size of the skull, it's quite kind of quote unquote normal. I'll move him closer so you can have a little look at him. So that's the right stylohyoid. Now what we have here is the left stylohyoid. And you can see already that that's much shorter than the right, incredibly so. Just try and pull a bit better focus. There we are. And this is the other portion of that left stylohyoid. So the left side is actually in two pieces. Now this part of the stylohyoid here actually articulates from the skull. That's where it connects into the skull and the base of the ear. And that's what hangs or connects the hyoid apparatus to the skull and therefore the rest of the body. Now, we have a right side that's in one piece. We have a left side that is in two pieces. Each of these stylohyoids, off the front of them, they have a little bone like this, not like this, this is actually one of them, called the ceratohyoid. Now this is, again, the right side, ceratohyoid. And then we have here the left side, ceratohyoid. That's upside down. Right side up. There we are. So that's our left side and our right side. Now you can see that there is a huge difference between the two of those. Not only is the right side significantly shorter than the left side, but it also has this remodelling through the top of it. So that guy sat there, and this one sat down here. So they articulate off the front of these stylohyoids and start to allow a little bit of movement between the skull and the hyoid, the tongue, and the larynx. Now, off of those ceratohyoids, we have this guy. So they articulate off these surfaces here, left side, right side, and even in that you can see that this entire bone is crooked in itself and in how the ceratohyoids articulate off it. That sits down there and these connect on here. I'll do it with the right side, like that, and then like that, off of both sides. So we have a right side that's quite normal, common. We have a left side that is thoroughly compromised. Not only that, but we also have this little spare. So this little bone actually sat off of this ceratohyoid. As you can see, the consistency of this bone is, it's almost like honeycomb would be the best descriptor. It's quite light, it's very fine. It doesn't have the density of bone. It is something that her body has created, I'm assuming, to create more stability in that area. Now you can see here on this internal surface where it's quite flat, pardon me, through here, which is the indicator to me that it articulates off this ceratohyoid like this. Now these two things were never fixed together, but that flat surface shows how they could articulate with each other as the tongue moved within the skull. So potentially this calcification through here, this remodelling, was not enough for her to feel stabilised through that broken hyoid. Her body actually laid down a little bit more calcification and created this guy to help stabilise that connection through there. I did not remove her tongue or have a look on the inside of her tongue through dissection, so I don't know how this all actually sat with soft tissue connections, or how there were, whether there was any scar tissue, or what that scar tissue sat like, which is something that devastates me, but it is what it is. Everybody keeps some sort of secrets in their life, and this is forever going to be one of Lady's. But looking at what we can see from her skeleton, we can see this left side break to the jaw, left side breaks to the hyoid with extensive remodelling. What we also have, I'll move these guys out of the way so that I can show to you the other stuff she's got going on in her face. So if we have a look right down the front of our lady, you can see through here she has, I'll try and get a good clear picture of it, this almost corally looking bone that has been laid down over the frontal bone through here. So this is normal bone structure. This is uncommon, as is this up here. Now this is darker, I believe, just through the processing, because I haven't bleached her entirely. I'd like her to keep some of this natural colour that she's come up with. But that corally substance is not normal, and that is what she came out with when I cleaned her skeleton off. Now normally that would just be a curiosity. However, that is down the left side of her face. We have a break in the left side of the jaw, the left hyoid, and also in dissection I found that through this temporalis muscle she actually had a full tear through the whole length of the temporal muscle, all down here. Now it was quite a significant tear. You might also be able to see, if I can get the angle right, that we do not have straightness in the occiput. We have a difference in how the occiput sits. And having known this mare while she was alive, I can tell you that she was incredibly resistant when we first started working with her to having any of her head touched. Anywhere back to the C3, she was incredibly guarded. We got her to a point where you could pat her face gently, you could brush her face, you could wash her forelock. Thank goodness, we got her to a point of comfort where these things she didn't feel the need to be so guarded about. But that's just some of the things that go hand in hand with this break that this beautiful lady was dealing with.